Hey everybody, we'll get started in just a second here. I'm just going to bring up a few things to make it helpful. Okay, so I am going to provide a recording of this, so I'm going to hit record right now, so I can certainly send you the replay once it's over and done with. So I'm just gonna Okay. So thanks for joining everybody. In the next half hour or so, I'm going to kind of walk you through what I'm seeing from in working with my email clients, some of the best practices, and obviously the title here, converting your email list into clients in less than 30 days. So I'm going to go through some of the tips and techniques that I really use as a direct response copywriter and working with coaches and businesses that are out there and really writing the emails for them. But also doing some of that email strategy as well, and really bring forth how you can kind of build that connection with your email list in a way that kind of motivates them to hire you as their coach or buy from you as a business owner. So I'm going to go through that. I'm going to show you some examples as well. I'm going to go through some of the emails that I've written for clients to give you a better idea of what those emails look like and how you can do that in your own business. I'm going to walk you behind the scenes in terms of my email provider as well, walk you through some of the automation that you can use to make your life a little bit easier from an email perspective as well. And then stay tuned towards the very end. I've got a pair of bonuses, which I think will very much help you in your business and your email. And we'll go through that towards the end. So let's kind of just jump in. I will leave time for Q&A towards the end as well to make sure it can get a little bit more personalized. As you have questions, feel free. I'll kind of have them in the chat, and we'll go through those. So the first thing is everything that I hear from clients and prospects all the time is the question is an email dead? And I want to talk about a few things. Is why email is so important, especially in this current environment where everybody's kind of stuck at home. One of the best ways that you can get in front of your prospects and clients is sending them emails regularly. So what I like to recommend to my clients is emailing at least once a week. But really the idea is that the more you email, the more money that you're going to make. And that might not make sense for you at this current time, not really knowing the best approach for putting out emails. And I'll go through some of those emails that just aren't really working for companies. But by the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you the best practices and strategies that you need to email your list frequently and regularly to kind of stay top of mind. And think about it, as people are kind of sitting at home, they are reading those emails. So everybody from my 86-year-old grandmother reads emails on a regular basis. I have a 6-year-old nephew that has an email that he checks all the time. So if you look across the landscape, email is the one thing that people are looking at across the different demographics and across your audience. If you're putting an email into their inbox that is engaging and kind of ropes them in instead of some of the email examples that I'll talk about in a second, you can really build that connection, that relationship over time. It allows them to get to know you a little bit better as well. So again, as we walk through this, you'll get a better idea of what that looks like. But and one of the things that you should recognize as well, everybody talks about putting content on social media and building a following on social media. But you have to realize, especially with Facebook and Instagram, where those news feeds are getting more and more crowded, that even if you do have a large following, only a small percentage is actually going to see your content on a regular basis. So using Facebook as an example, only about 4% of your followers see your content on a regular basis, regardless of how often you're putting it out there. And that's just really a reflection of how crowded that news feed is. Facebook can't put 100% of followers and putting that content out there. So you have to realize that even if you do have a good following and on social media, you really built it up over the years, that you're not putting your content, your followers aren't seeing it on a regular basis. But if you are emailing your list and you know, if you don't have any deliverability issues, you're not spamming people, every single person that's on your email list should be getting that email on a daily basis. And I'll get through how you can kind of improve your open rates and deliverability towards the end as well to kind of maximize that opportunity. But email is one of those things that as you build that kind of community around your business and around your coaching, that you can kind of be in contact with those people on a regular basis, and you know they're seeing your content. And even if you're on social media and you're creating content as well, that's a great way of kind of raising it to them and saying, you know, I put out this great piece today. Why don't you go take a look? They're more likely to see that email than they are to see it on the social media channel in broader terms. So one of the key reasons that people question whether email is dead is they get a lot of emails that just aren't that exciting or engaging for them. So I just kind of took out a few different examples of the ones that I saw within my email box that I've kind of unsubscribed for just in the last few weeks. And they kind of come in three different categories that I see and think about them as kind of email mistakes. They're not across the board, but they typically fall into three general areas of those email, you know, those people that are emailing that really aren't building that connection over time. Think of these people, these types of emails as the ones that you really want to avoid on a regular basis. I'll go through some of the caveats there, but the number one is kind of the one on the left here, where you're kind of just throwing out discounts to people on a regular basis. So, you know, this is, you know, an e-commerce company where I took this from, where they're throwing out a 40% sale. They probably send me this 40% sale once a week. So it kind of just lowers the value of your overall service, makes you more like a commodity. And after a while, people kind of, their eyes kind of glaze over after all your discounts. It kind of just, they kind of equate it to, you know, why would they pay full price for your service or any product that you're providing if you're always just sending out discounts? And receiving these emails isn't that engaging either. Like I don't really want to open up emails where the only part of the email is just a discount and there's nothing really else there. So this really comes about more in the e-commerce land, but just something to be aware of, you know, within your coaching or your business about putting just offers out there with discounts and that kind of thing. So the other thing is on the top right is kind of that special invite for you, where you're only emailing your list anytime you have something to offer and you're not doing it any time else. Like you're just promoting your latest program, you're promoting your mastermind, maybe your one-on-one services, and that's the only time you email your list. And if you don't really put the effort into kind of nurturing and building that relationship with your email list, again, their eyes are going to glaze over anytime you put out a new product. You know, they'll basically just have the impression like, oh, okay, here she goes again. She's just throwing out an offer in front of me, whether it's relevant to me or not. And they really don't know as much who you are and what expertise you have, because you really haven't put in the work to kind of nurture them along the way. So again, it's perfectly fine to put offers in front of your list, but you have to kind of build that relationship. You kind of have to pre-frame a lot of those offers along the way so that people are conducive to seeing your email, signing up for that, and building that relationship and ultimately seeing the outcome that they're looking for. And then the final thing at the bottom right that I see really much in, a lot of times within the coaching landscape is just putting out how-to type of content, where you're really just putting yourself as kind of the expert or the teacher, and every email that you put out there is kind of a teaching moment for you, where we're trying to give advice or how they can improve their mindset, and kind of just running through the stuff that you've learned in pretty much a systematic format. Maybe you have a 3-step checklist or things like that. That's perfectly defined to do every so often. I mean, a lot of that advice that you can give can be helpful, but I'm going to walk you through how you can do that in a little bit better, more engaging type process and a format that really engages your audience, gets them wrapped up and learns more about you, but also, you know, it offers you the opportunity to kind of give that advice and allows them to see some value from it, hopefully get some forward momentum, and ultimately get to the point where they're going to hire you. So again, each of these things in isolation, you know, just from what I've seen in my own email box, but what I've seen from other businesses as well. If this is all you're doing in terms of your email, that's where people are getting the impression that email is dead and is not worth it. So for the rest of the time, I'm really going to focus on what you should be doing in terms of building that connection with your list and kind of the techniques that you should be using. So really what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the time here is story-based emails to really engage your audience within specific stories, get them, getting them a little bit to get to know you and what's going on in your life and your business, and get to the point where putting out, again, you can put out some offers and tie it to some offers there. But again, that first part and motivation for opening up your emails every single day is starting with some type of story that kind of wraps them in, and then ultimately transitioning or segueing in to something that is relevant to you, whether it's a link to your content, an offer that you have out there, some type of call to action to get that further dialogue going with you and within your business. So again, if you do this on a regular basis, what people are going to do is they're going to be able to connect with you as a person, which is really important. So you become less of a commodity within the coaching space and within the business space as well. And then what we're really doing is selling you and your personality. So that's really important. Ultimately, people, if you want them to pay, a higher price for your services, they want to be able to kind of see you as very much differentiated. And the best way to kind of differentiate yourself is kind of using your unique view and personality and really selling that via email. And that might be a little bit scary for a lot of people, of kind of putting yourself out there and exposing yourself through stories. But from what I've seen kind of over and over again, using these stories is the best way to kind of build that connection over time and, seeing it through. So I want to walk you, I'm going to give you a few examples of the story-based email. So it'll make a little bit more sense as I walk you through, kind of the format of those emails and showing you some examples. But I just wanted to walk you through some best practices in terms of emails before we kind of jump in. And that'll give a little bit more semblance of what's going on within the email and how you can kind of format that as well. So best practices for email that I've seen, starting with the headline. So anytime the headline is the one thing. So nobody's really going to read your email if they don't have the kind of motivation to open it. So think about your headline. The only job of that is to get them to open up your email. A lot of people try and sell their offering or to put a bunch of information into their headline as much as possible, trying to do everything within their headline. What you should do and really focus on is putting some curiosity in there, putting some curiosity and maybe some benefits of your program or your services in that headline. Again, the main job is to get them to open up the email. And again, once I go through some of those examples, you'll get a better sense of what that looks like. The second thing is show, don't tell. So a lot of people within the coaching ranks will start out by saying, I've been in your shoes before, really, trust me on that. But instead of telling them you've been in their shoes before or that you're a great expert, I want to show them, you want to show your audience through story how that really comes about. So the best way to kind of show that is, we'll start with number one, kind of sharing your story. So if you're working with an audience where you kind of had personal experiences that they're going through right now, maybe the same pain points in your own life, and you're able to transition to progress along, and that's kind of the formation of your process. Let's tell a specific moment that happened in your life that kind of illustrates to your audience how you went through that pain point. Like pick out a specific moment that shows them that and tell that story, and then walk them through the transformation of what your life looks like now. So number one, what they'll do is kind of connect with you on that level and kind of say, okay, she's been through or he's been through the same thing that I went through, that I'm going through right now. And then as you walk them through the transformation, that allows you to kind of illustrate your process. And as you go through and kind of talk about what your life is like right now, that gives them hope that they can kind of go through that same transition as well. So they might be in a situation where they really feel stuck and paralyzed and they have a lot of pain points that are going on. But if you can kind of illustrate for them what life might look like for them down the line, that gives them the added motivation to potentially work with you. And this works really well as well with client testimonials. So if you can share some stories of some of your clients that, again, were in that similar situation as your audience is or your prospects are right now, and show that transformation and how you help them to a better life. Again, that allows you to kind of connect with them and show that you have that connection over time. In terms of the opening lines of the email, the best thing to do is really start in the middle of the action. So think about some of the best movies that you've seen. What they do in the first few seconds or the first few minutes is really jump into the action and get you engaged right away. What I see with a lot of people with their emails, they do kind of a lot of throat clearing where they're trying to give a lot of context, kind of set up the scene a little bit more, whereas you really want to engage your audience from the very start. So that first line is really important to, again, get some curiosity going, get them following down the page, and get them into the story. And then you can kind of fill in that context as you go along. So, think about that. Again, headline, very important to get that open, but kind of that first line as well for your audience. Like, why should I read further down the page in this email? Don't just assume that people, excuse me, anytime they read down the, just because they got an email from you, don't assume that they're going to read the whole thing. You really have to engage them from the very start to get them reading down and go through that story that you're telling. One of the other things as well is kind of ask for replies. Start that conversation with people. I see with coaches all the time where that call to action on their website or anywhere that they might have within their email is asking them to sign up for a free call. And for your audience, that might be a pretty big step for them to take to get on the phone with a stranger that they never met before. Maybe they don't have confidence that, that you're the right coach for them. So what you want to do is, think about those micro commitments. So replying to an email and giving some information about themselves or answering a question that you might have posed to them is a great way to kind of just start that dialogue. And if you can kind of get back and forth with them and learn more about what their pain points are, what their goals are, that's a great way to kind of segue to an email, segue to a call over time. So you can kind of get to know them via email and get to the point where they're ready to jump on a call with you at that point. But, think about, some of those easier replies. So, and what replies do help you as well is kind of email deliverability. So if anybody's replying to, one of your emails, what that signals to, Gmail or Yahoo or whatever provider that they have, it signals to that provider that since they replied to your email, it's probably not a spam. It's probably not a spam email. So that allows you to kind of improve your deliverability over time and allows more of your emails to get in front of your audience as close to 100% as possible. And then the last thing is what I call, and what is really called the hero's journey. And that's really the story format that I'm going to walk you through. Think about your story as kind of a combination of different things. So, starting out with really an obstacle that maybe you in your own story or one of your clients went through, or generally whatever story that you're telling, talk about that obstacle or the struggle that that person is going through right now. And if you think about, some of the blockbuster movies that are out there at any given time, they generally have a main character that is going through some type of obstacle or challenge that they're trying to, manage through. And the same thing within your story. Talk about that obstacle or struggle that, that character is really going through. Allow your audience to kind of connect with them and start to root for that person as they go along. And then you can kind of progress the story to that eventual transformation for either you or the character within your story. And you can kind of progress on to what that transformation really meant to them. So either a lesson learned or a better life within that, and kind of describe what their life looks like right now. So really is kind of three parts to it in the most simple terms, starting out with that obstacle or struggle that they're dealing with, talking through how they got to some type of transformation and what the details look like for that. And then talking about what happened on the other side. Once they had a success, what does that look like for them? So all those different things, again, will make a little bit more sense as I show you a few different examples, which I'll go through right now. So what I'm going to do is just pull up a few examples that I have on I've pulled up on my screen here. So this first one is just a few examples of what I've written for clients. And I just want to kind of bring this to life for you a little bit more. I can talk about the frameworks and the formats and things like that, but I want to show you a few examples of what this actually looks like for clients that I've written for, and what it actually, how the format kind of comes to life in terms of that hero's journey. So this first couple, this first email is a email that I wrote for a life coach. It was a brand new business for her, really focused on her story. So this email was kind of that first email within the series that allowed her audience to get to know her a little bit better, how she came about and got into coaching, and why she has a passion for helping people that have gone through similar situations as her, or looking for the impact that she kind of focuses on. So number one, I'm going to focus on kind of the subject line here. So again, all about curiosity, putting the call that dropped me to my knees. That kind of raises the question in your mind, like, okay, what was on that call? Like, it raises enough curiosity that it kind of stands out within their email box. They're like, okay, I've got to find out what that call was all about, and what was so emotional, or what was that impact that dropped her to her absolute knees. So again, kind of this first sentence is really important to getting them in the door. So they've opened up the email. The first line is really important in terms of getting them, into your story. So it felt like the ground beneath me was shaking, but I couldn't move. So again, I haven't really let out what was exactly on the call. I'm just kind of giving a little bit more detail, setting up that scene a little bit more to build up that curiosity to get them landing down the page. And again, as you go along, a little bit more of emotional language, get to the point where I talk about even, what was, again, that call, 3 words from my dad on that call really shook her up and put her on a long journey and transformation. Again, getting back to the hero's journey of talking about your transformation. It doesn't have to be so systematic. In this email, we started talking about that transformation pretty early, even before revealing what was on that call. So talking about how she quit her corporate job, how she moved locations, how she co-authored a book, how she did all this travel. And that was all a result of, the single call that she had on that day. So I'll move down a little bit further. And it ultimately comes to a pretty traumatic experience for her. Obviously, the event was her brother committed suicide, and really sparked a kind of a transformation for her, thinking about her own life, and moving on from there into getting into coaching, and really thinking about what is her impact and having a positive impact on what is going on here. And it kind of gets to the end here where she talks about what, she kind of found her purpose in that event. Obviously a very traumatic event, for her in that moment, but get to the point where she has kind of found purpose on the other side of that, and finding her impact within coaching, and, kind of talking through to the end and kind of the call to action, talking about, kind of identifying with her audience, like who is she actually, trying to help. So in her experience, she really lived a life up until that event that was kind of devoid of material purpose, or she really wasn't finding her footing along the way. But she was able to find that purpose over time, and she knows her audience is kind of struggling with those same questions of finding their purpose, finding their impact, and that's really her focus, and that's where kind of this connection comes through. So we're kind of transitioning to, okay, what does this mean to the audience that's reading it? Why does everything that's happened in her life matter to them? So getting to the point where we're talking about her coaching and setting up the fact that there is going to be a possibility of her being a coach for these people that are reading that along the way. I've got one other example that is a little out there as well, but it's just a good way to kind of show you the format as well. So again, subject line, the worst mother in the world. So that's one of those that within your email box would really stand out, and you develops enough curiosity that you're just like, I've got to figure out what's happening with this woman that's writing this email, like what happened in that line. So again, the first line, generating curiosity. So in this one, her offer is a meal plan for mothers that are kind of struggling in feeding their younger kids healthy foods. Obviously, for some of you in the audience, you have kind of been parents and kind of dealt with your kids being constipated at one point or another. So that's kind of a huge pain point for people. So kind of starting with a line of dialogue and getting you into the story. So again, she's sitting on the floor of her bathroom with her 3-year-old son that's really very much in pain. So again, starting with that obstacle or struggle. And again, this is not her struggle, her personally, but something that her son is going through. And obviously there's a lot of pain that goes through that. So describing that pain and that struggle, but ultimately getting to some type of transformation. And again, based on this event, she was able to do some research, learn more, and get to the point where she was able to discover some of those healthier meals that allowed for her to get to the point where her children were a lot more healthy and happy as they went along. And again, this has kind of become her purpose, where she knows a lot of other mothers and parents out there are kind of struggling with the same thing. And she's developed a program to make it really easy in terms of providing recipes that they can make that really keep their kids happy and healthy. Just because, a lot of the stuff that is sold out there that she has, it's not as nutritious or healthy as it might seem. So that's really the pain points that we're hitting there. And again, you get to the point where you have a call to action at the end. That's really what you want to do at the end of each email, is try to give some action, keep that conversation going with your audience, whether it's a piece of content that you have, whether it's your blog or social media content, to push them there so that they don't just read your email and the conversation ends there. So offers an opportunity to kind of put an offer in front of them. So this is just one example of that. So again, the offer kind of went to a link right here where you could buy her program called My Kitchen Miracles. So those are two just story examples. So again, in each of those story examples, it was more focused on kind of the personal story, but there's other ways that you can do that as well. And I wanted to give you one other example. And this is for a toy company called Buckle Toys that I wrote for. And this is a little bit more, this story is more based on client testimonial. So a toy company that makes a lot of those toys with the buckles in it that even my kids and some of the other kids really love, just because they can kind of snap those buckles over time. But again, starting with the story to kind of bring them in pretty quickly as well. And I can bring up the subject line. So I have a couple different subject lines that I suggested, but again, building some curiosity, building some benefits to what is out there. So if you're reading one of these headlines, you're curious enough that you want to open it up and eventually get to the point where you're reading through this. So again, starting just with the line that says, this is kind of from the Buckle Toys owner. So they're setting some context in the very beginning to say, okay, this is from a recent customer, to kind of give that context, but then kind of getting into the story. So again, giving you a visual of what that story is. Again, this story is very much about showing instead of telling. So kind of steps you right into the story right away, where you're kind of stepping onto that plane that's overpacked, and you have a bunch of kids you have 2 kids that are kind of screaming as you get on that plane. Kind of talking through, how all the other passengers are looking at her and, thinking about, look at this, we've got another screaming kid for this long flight. Like, how annoying is that? So again, seeing the eye rolls from teenagers and travel advice from different parents, and then getting to the point where there is a transformation. So the Buckle toy that she took out of her bag, you can see it right here. The little caterpillar comes through and becomes that transformation for that plane flight, and just makes it that much more enjoyable. And then again, talking about, what does life look like after that came out, makes it a lot easier in terms of that plane flight. Travel is so much easier. And what I did within this email is just share a few other reviews that kind of boost up that credibility as well. How these Buckle toys are great for those parents that are looking, that have young children that need a little break or some quiet time while they're traveling. Again, comes to a call to the action here, just by providing a link right there. So those were just a few examples. Hopefully that brought it to life a little bit more. I wanted to just see if there was any questions right now in the chat. And I know there's one other one that I didn't cover before. So the one question that did come through is, what if I don't have an email list? So one of the things is it's really easy to create an email list. So I'll walk you through a couple ways you can do that. And you know, especially, you know, one of the main reasons why your email list is very good to develop is those people that visit your website. It's an easy kind of way to kind of collect and continue that conversation with people as they visit your website. Most people visit your website, they bounce off, and they never come to your website again. If you can, if they can come to your website, sign up for some kind of PDF or see a webinar or see things like that that really help them and allow you to kind of collect their email information and kind of get that along the way. That's really powerful. Again, in the preceding months and weeks, you can kind of continue that conversation, allow them to get to know you a little bit better, develop that motivation for them to eventually work with you as well. So I'll walk you through. I mean, the easiest way to create an email list is to sign up with an email provider like MailChimp, which is a low cost or free service depending on what your plan is, and get that started. And then just putting something on your website that is something of value for your audience, and it's gonna change based upon what type of audience you are looking at, but you know, just think about what are the pain points that your audience has right now, and what would be, you know, a kind of a brief 2 or 3 page PDF where you can provide some value to them to kind of get them moving in the right direction. It could be a webinar where you, you know, walk you through various different, you educate them a little bit, provide some value, but also introduce yourself. So if you prefer video and kind of talking more than writing out a PDF, that's an easier way to do it as well. And then, you know, even if you don't want to, if you want to just start today, all you have to do is kind of put an opt-in at the top of your, you know, website somewhere that basically just says, you know, please join my email list. You know, here's what, you know, give them an idea of what they would, what's kind of the benefit of joining your email list. So do you provide some value? Again, focus on kind of the pain points of your audience and those things that you can really solve for them. So could be providing value or some education around the problems that they're dealing with right now, and then kind of going from there. And I think as you get to know your audience a little bit better through those emails that you're sending out, it's, you know, you'll get a better idea of what they really want and what you can kind of deliver for them over time. And I'll go into a little bit more detail on kind of the different types of the email list and kind of the, you know, if you're just starting today, like how should you think about kind of building that out over time? So I'm just going to go back to sharing my screen, go back to the slides real quick. So there are kind of 2 types of emails that, as you think about that, the one is a welcome email autoresponder. So again, going back to the example of somebody signs up on your website, what you should have is kind of an automated flow of emails that goes to them before they go through your kind of regular email list that you're sending out on a periodic basis. So what that autoresponder really looks like is kind of giving them the information, kind of an introduction to you as a business owner, but also your business and what offerings you have out there. So at the, you know, at the end of that period of series of emails, they have a good idea of what you do, how you could potentially help them, and get to the point where they're ready to sign up as well. So I'll walk you through in just a second what an email autoresponder looks like within the system that I use, which is called ActiveCampaign. And I'll walk you through the series of emails that make sense just from a very standard level of promoting your business there. So again, anytime somebody signs up for your email list, you should assume that they don't know anything about you, and you want to give them that information. And the second thing is, anytime they opt in, you have to realize that they're probably at the height of their motivation for potentially working with you. So you know, if you're in the coaching landscape, they might be highly motivated to hire a coach right now because they're going through a period of stress, or they just want to see some change right now. So if you know, think about that height of motivation and what you can do over the preceding days to kind of give them a level of comfort that you're the right coach for them, give them the motivation and information that they need to feel comfortable to get to the point where they can sign up for a phone call with you or whatever your next step is to get to the point where they want to hire you. And on the right-hand side, those broadcast emails, what that is just kind of those, whatever technique you use to kind of send out emails to your list, whether it's once a week or a little bit, once a month, whatever it is, those broadcast emails really reflect that that consistency. And so kind of thinking about it in two separate ways. The first part is kind of the automation to kind of introduce yourself. The second part is kind of your day-to-day broadcast that you're sending out to your list to kind of build that connection over time and doing it that way. So I know there was one other question. Okay. So what I'm going to do is kind of walk you through and show you what the autoresponder looks like in a little bit more detail. I'm going to share my screen once again. So I'm going to show you behind the scenes what an actual autoresponder looks like, because I know for the most part what I've seen is most businesses don't have this, and a lot of it comes down to they don't know how to set it up or what information to provide. So in the next few minutes, I'm really going to lay it out for you what it looks like, but also what are those series of things that you really have to answer for your audience to, again, get to the point where they're ready to buy your offer or get to the point where they want to just learn a little bit more about you. So the context for this is for, I wrote this sequence for a dental marketing agency for dentists. So this just was a sequence for somebody that opted into their website and is kind of allowing them to introduce themselves and get to the point where their offer here is to get that dentist to hire them for marketing their business. So just with that context, but again, kind of following that similar format over time is really helpful. And again, what they're using for that information, and again, getting to the point where that customer is ready, willing, and motivated to sign up with them because they have that know, like, and trust factor really included there. So the first part, kind of starting with that welcome email. So this one had an opt-in, a PDF download that went through there. So the welcome email really designed to kind of just send to the reader saying, here's the link for that opt-in that you asked for, kind of giving a little bit introduction about the business as well, building some curiosity and kind of talking through in bullet point form, like, okay, what are the future emails that you're going to receive? What are the, why should I look out for your emails on the next few days? Again, kind of introducing yourself in a way that says, okay, I'm going to give you some valuable information over the next few days, so look out for it and open my emails as well. And then towards the end of the email, asking a question. So in this email, we talked about what's the greatest challenge that you see in marketing your dental practice. Again, that's really designed to, in that first email, get them in the habit of not only open up your email, reading that email, but responding to that email as well. So if you can get your readers in the habit of doing that every single time or on a regular basis, that's going to be really important to, again, increasing your email deliverability, but also kind of developing that conversation. So if you can have a conversation with your prospects via email, that's just a really easy way to get to the point where they're really comfortable to get on the phone call with you and eventually hire you along the way. So the idea of having kind of micro commitments along the way to get there. Within this automation, there is a little bit advanced feature. So if they read that first email and they responded to it, it would just go directly here. If they didn't, it would go to the separate email that just really provided a few hours later a reminder to say, okay, I sent you this thing. Can you send me a reply? So again, if somebody hasn't replied, especially in those first few emails, it's important to kind of establish that habit of getting them in the habit of answering your emails and starting that conversation. So this first email, as I kind of go through the list, so, think about an email sequence as the next 6 or 7 days. So again, when they opt in at the height of their motivation, over the next 6 or 7 days, let's give them the information and stories that they need to get to know you, your business, and the services that you provide. And then we can eventually put an offer in front of them towards the end where they're a little bit more comfortable. They have that relationship with you. Hopefully you've had some email dialogue along the way, and that increases your chances of potentially working with them. So, within the sequence, the first email here is kind of a personal story email. So introducing the owner of the dental marketing agency, giving a little bit more insight on why they're qualified to work with them, giving a personal story around that. So again, kind of introducing, assume that they know nothing about you and provide your introduction and your expertise around that. And if you can kind of connect within your own story, some of the pain points that they're dealing with, that's really good as well. The second one within this sequence, so again, how I'm setting it up is sending them an email every single day. Again, that's really around the design for that is they're very highly motivated to work with you potentially right now. So I want to get in front of them every single day. Again, getting in the habit of them reading your emails. Once they're done with this sequence, that doesn't mean you have to continue emailing them every single day, but you want to develop that consistency where you're top of mind in terms of those overall services. They see your name frequently, so when they do get to the point where they're ready to hire you, you're the only real choice for them over time. So for this, I kind of do it one email every single day. Again, establishing that habit right out of the gate of getting to know you and seeing your emails every single day. And then when you do your broadcast emails, they'll be much more likely to open them as well. Second one here was just kind of a client testimonial. So again, providing some proof to kind of back up that personal story that you sent the day before around their expertise, the results that they were able to provide their customers. Again, proof is a very important thing that you need to give your prospects to kind of differentiate yourself, but also prove to them that you can help them in their unique situation as much as possible. So sharing some stories around client testimonials is really important. On the next few emails were kind of meant to kind of knock down some false beliefs. So as part of your emails, what you want to do is kind of shift the beliefs of some of your customers to the ones that kind of line up with your philosophy and process. So they might have a lot of information that's out there. They might have a lot of they might have been taught a lot of different things that don't line up with your process or philosophy. So you want to knock down some of those false beliefs or false information that's out there by telling some stories, walking them through exactly why your process and philosophy is something that they should believe in as well. So if they can kind of line up their beliefs with your philosophy and process, they're more likely to hire you as well. So that's a great way of doing that. And then we get down to kind of the point where, okay, they're getting closer to the point where they're more comfortable with hiring you. So you've introduced yourselves, you provided proof around your services and your coaching that you are the right person for them. Now you want to just kind of be a little bit more preemptive in terms of going out there and knocking down some questions that you know are going to come about. So every time you're going out there and promoting your business, you get common questions that come through. Don't wait for those questions to, don't wait for your prospects to ask them. Be upfront, and that's really the idea between this FAQ type of email. Go through a long list of questions that you typically get for your business and give those standard responses that you tend to give. And then at the end of that email, it gives you a great opportunity to say, if you have any other questions beyond kind of my common questions, please reply to this email. And again, start that conversation with people to the point where in that dialogue, you can kind of knock down any potential objections or hesitations that they might have in not hiring you at this time. And then you kind of go through and put an offer through and kind of qualify people along the way if that's what you want to do. So this was a little bit longer of an email sequence. You can see some of them, like this why email was asking them why they haven't taken why that prospect hasn't taken us up on the offer as of yet. So that's another great way to again, put an offer out there and ask your customers that don't take you up on that offer, what was the reason why? Is there something that might be holding them back? getting that customer information, that customer dialogue via email is really important to kind of improving your offer over time and making sure that you're kind of knocking down some of those questions, hesitations, objections that they might have over time. So again, this is kind of a standard email sequence. They can be really long. They can be over 14 days, over 21 days. But again, I would start with an email sequence that was around 6 or 7 days that kind of introduces you, give some testimonials if you have them, and then kind of, again, shift some beliefs, give some of your, give a better idea of what your process is and philosophy so that your readers have a better idea of who they're going to be dealing with. So any questions on the autoresponder sequence before I kind of move on? Okay, so I don't see any other. Yep. So ActiveCampaign, yeah, that's what I've used for a long period of time. I mean, there's a lot of good ones out there, and I'll kind of cover it a little bit later. But in terms of the email providers that really work well and that I've seen work well for, not only my clients but as a copywriter as well, as ActiveCampaign, ConvertKit, Drip. Those are kind of the three ones that are really make it really simple for you, regardless of where you are in the technology spectrum in terms of knowledge. To really do it in a pretty simple way. And they're, in the case of ActiveCampaign, it allows you to kind of start from a very low level. And as your email list grows, develop some of those capabilities that you might need, but maybe not need at the very beginning. So I think ActiveCampaign starts at around $9 a month. So very affordable if you're just starting an email list right now. One of those that I would definitely recommend. Again, I use it myself to do it that way. As well. So just going back to our slides here, I just wanted to give you a few more examples of, so once you're through that email sequence and you get to the point where you're doing broadcast emails, again, these are regular emails that you're sending out to your list. Again, I would recommend that you're sending your list at least an email once a week to maintain that consistency, make sure that they're kind of top of mind, that you're top of mind with your prospects, that they're seeing your name, they're hearing from you every so often. If you do it once a month or things like that, you raise the potential that you might get lost in their email box. They forget about you a little bit. So be regular, at least once a week. If you're emailing even more frequently than that, that's great, but establish the habit. And that's really what I did as when I first started out emailing my list is, at the very least, email once a week, and then you can kind of put in other habits along the way. Maybe one Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe a few times a week. With my own email list right now, I email every single day, so I'm in front of them every single day with story-based emails that are hopefully building that connection, sharing what's going on. And I'll give you a few examples of broadcast emails there. I know doing it every single day can get to the point where it seems a little bit daunting, but there's plenty of ideas that you can kind of share with your audience and build that connection over time. So some other broadcast emails. So we talked about the personal story, the client testimonials that you can share out there. You can also share the creation story of your business, like what actually motivated you to launch your business, what got you into coaching or whatever business that you're in. Tell us some of that inspiration story, like where were you before and what motivated you and inspired you to start this business, and how has it kind of progressed along the way. It's a great way to kind of introduce your prospects to kind of that journey with you as a business owner. Again, that can be a connection source for them, but giving a little bit more context for them along the way. Easiest thing to do, and the one thing that I tend to do all the time, is kind of share stories of what you're working on right now, or those big ideas, or the ideas that you're sharing with prospects or clients with that. You don't have to give away client names or give away any personal information, but give us the broad contours of what's going on within your business. If you're a successful growing business, you have a lot of great stories that you want to tell. And these are the ones that if I'm lacking an idea of, I can't come up with anything, I'm always having conversations with coaching in terms of their marketing and other businesses with it. And I'm just really, kind of sharing the best practices and ideas that we kind of had a conversation about. Again, I'm not sharing, that personal information. It's not absolutely necessary, but share some ideas that were really working for you. So I'll give you an example. This past week I've talked to a bunch of coaches that have talked about like what audience they're going to, they want to specifically serve. And a lot of the times what came up is, especially in this environment where the economy, is a little bit, uncertain, and we're not sure where it's going to go, talking through and making sure that their audience has the wherewithal and the capital to actually invest in their, to hire them. So, with this one particular coach, he was talking about how he wanted to help out those people on the unemployment lines find their next new career. And that's, very noble of him and things like that. But if you're building a business around the audience that maybe not, they might be in financial distress or might not have the capital to do that, it kind of, it kind of makes your business a little bit struggling in terms of growth potentially if you're kind of chasing down people for payments and things like that, and they might not have the capital to actually put to work there. So focusing on those audiences that actually have the capital and investment and things like that, they can give you money right now to find that impact. There's plenty of audiences that are out there that are willing to do that. So that was just one idea that came out this week. That came through. The other one is kind of a contrarian type of email. So think about those widely held beliefs that people might have. Think about the things that they're seeing on TV right now. Obviously, we're in a very unpredictable, uncertain environment. So think about all the misinformation that's going out there, or even the information that seems to be widely supported and believed. If you can kind of go against some of that, and kind of tell the story about why some, specific thing is wrong, then that kind of generates enough curiosity to get them to open up their email and again, get to your belief system. So I'll give you an example, like within the weight loss space is kind of the one that comes to mind. So obviously you have the keto diet that is, very popular out there. So if you're going to write an email and you're in the weight loss space, you're a weight loss coach, and you don't really your philosophy and process doesn't really line up with that keto diet, you can kind of create an email talking about why you think keto is not the right why that's not the right diet for your audience. And that's going to spark some curiosity for them, because all they're seeing is keto everywhere they look. So if you're writing something that kind of knocks down that belief, that might not be the right solution for them, it's going to catch their attention. So think about the things that are kind of trending in terms of topics and how you can kind of deliver a contrarian type of opinion to, again, catch people's attention, get them more aligned with your beliefs, philosophy, process that might be more relevant. And along with that, think about the things that are newsworthy and trending right now. So it doesn't it doesn't have to be COVID. It can be, lots of other things. It could be the most popular show trending on Netflix right now, and how you're really loving it, or why you're not watching it as well. So one of the best ways to do that is go into Google Trends, go into Twitter, and find out the things that people are really talking about, and either talk about why you really love what's going on, or why you have a differing opinion around that. So again, the idea is to kind of come up with story ideas that kind of catch people's attention. Those things that are kind of top of mind for them will tend to get them to open up your email and listen through. And again, in telling your unique perspective along the way of what your views are, or how you're kind of viewing that, they're going to be able to kind of connect with you and your personality along the way, get a better idea of who you are. And again, for those people that line up with that, they're going to be ready to hire you right away. Success stories are always important. So obviously you have those big testimonial things when you get a big impact for one of your clients, but along the way, there's a series of steps that get you to that larger goal. So always be sharing those success stories that are out there. So within email, one of the great things that you can do is, maybe a screenshot an email that you got from one of your clients. If they're not willing to kind of show their name, you can black that out. If you've got a great social media post around your business or on your business page, take a snapshot of that and include that in your email, and give a little bit more details around the story there. Showing that you're having an impact with your clients and your business is having a positive impact is really important to, again, providing proof for those prospects that you can help them in their unique situation.
And then the last one, there's a whole ton of ideas, but these are just kind of a few ones that I would throw out there and are pretty easy to write about as you go along. Answer a common question that you're getting all the time. So if you got a question from one of your prospects or something that came through in your business that is probably a question on your audience's mind, put that question at the top of your email and say, I got this question this week. And then provide your response. Like walk your audience through how you responded to that, how you would think about that, and make the assumption that they have those type of questions right now in their own head, or they might in the future have a similar type of question. So again, if you can knock down some of those hesitations, objections that they might have, that gets them closer to actually hiring you and getting on the phone with you as well. So again, I kind of practice what I preach. We're kind of coming to the top of the hour here, so feel free to join my email list. Again, I send out emails every single day. They're all story-based for the most part. Coming to your email box, you'll get a better idea of who I am, what's going on in my world, and what impact that I'm having. So go to that email address that you see on the screen and sign up, and you'll start receiving my emails right away. Again, one of the easiest ways to kind of see the story-based framework and philosophy in practice is actually receiving emails from those people that really follow it. So you might have emails right now that, again, are more based on those examples that I started from the beginning, where it's more based on discounts or how-tos or just throwing around offers. But as you kind of see examples of what other businesses are doing successfully and using engaging stories, you'll see the level of connection that you're having with the person on the other side, how you're motivated to work with that person, and how many just kind of personal details you learn about that, and allows that person that's sending the email to kind of rise their business above all the rest of the competitors that are out there. They become top of mind anytime you or anybody in your network has a question or is ready to hire somebody like that. So it's great for referrals as well. And that's just a great way to do it. So again, sign up for that and we'll go from there. So, and then just in the last few minutes here, I wanted to go through some of the bonuses that I want to provide to you guys for joining this webinar. So bonus number one is I'm happy to kind of take a look at your existing email autoresponder. So if you do have an email autoresponder, I'm happy to go through that and just provide some more strategic tips on how you can improve that, maybe potentially get some more conversions. What I do is kind of just provide a Google Doc of what my suggestions might be, or maybe I'll record a video that kind of walks through your autoresponder. If you don't have an autoresponder right now, what I'd ask you to do is I can give you a kind of a frame and outline of maybe those emails along the way, those 6 or 7 emails that might be a right fit for your business. Again, you can kind of connect that to your website. So anytime anybody opts in, they have that level of emails that are going through there. So what I'll do is I'll lay out maybe the process of how you could think about the emails that you might have within that autoresponder. Again, getting to the point where somebody is ready to hire you towards the end. So to do that, what I'd ask you to do is just send me an email. Here's my email address right here, brian@mindsetcopy.com. So just let me know if you have an existing autoresponder right now. Either provide me a link to that autoresponder to opt in, or you can just send me a Google Doc of what the emails are in that autoresponder, and I'll come back to you either with a recorded video or a Google Doc of some suggestions there. If you don't have an autoresponder set up right now, just give me a little bit more information about your business. Give me a link to your website so I can take a look, and again, make it a little bit more personalized in terms of like outlining among those emails, like here's how you should think about maybe subject lines, or thinking about what are the subjects of those emails as you go through. So happy to do that. As I go through that, I'm very confident that in looking at your emails, it's going to be helpful, just in the next week in getting more response with your list, and hopefully a little bit more business within this time period. So the second bonus I want to talk about is I'm running a workshop next Thursday from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's really going to be focused on how you could pivot your existing offer, and whether it's your coaching offer or other business offer for this current environment. So obviously your audience is kind of sitting in lockdown right now. They have a different frame of reference. They have different outcomes. That they're, in the next 6 months, they're not sure what their environment is going to look like. So what you really have to do is kind of pivot your existing offer or business offer that you have out there. It might be a proven offer or an offer that you're thinking about creating, and kind of adapting it to the audience and their current line of thinking. And by doing that, you're going to get more conversions, potentially from your clients, get more business, and go forward and having more impact with your overall landscape. So that's really going to be focused on working with 5 business owners. So I'm only keeping it to 5 participants. It's all going to be online. So we're going to jump on a Zoom call. We're going to start, among those 3 hours, I'm going to start with kind of the best practices of what I'm seeing among the coaching landscape and business owner landscape of what offers are really working well. Again, adapting it to your current environment and your current audience. And then for the remaining time, so, over 2 hours, we're really going to go around the room and kind of focus on those 5 business owners that join. How can we actually go in and dig into your offer? So again, if you have an existing offer, I'm going to offer some advice on how we can revise that a little bit more for the current environment to get some further conversions and get to the point where you can bring that out as well to your audience and hopefully be a little bit more successful and get some more money and clients within your business. I'm also going to talk about how you can promote that offer, like what are those best practices. So if you have an offer but nobody knows about that, obviously that's something that you have to address. So I'm going to really dig into how you can best promote your offer that you have out there. So at the end of that 3 hours, what you're going to do is you're going to learn from the other 4 business owners that are there that are putting out their offers and the strategies and techniques there. But what you're going to do is kind of walk away with, okay, here's my revised offer that kind of fits the current environment, my current audience that they're thinking about, their pain points, and how I can potentially help them. And then you're going to have a promotion plan that you can actually put in place right away. So I'm more than happy to kind of sit there and if you want to, go on, obviously everything's kind of online right now. So if you wanted to create an online ad for your specific audience, we can actually go through and I'll kind of brainstorm ideas and write the language that you need to put an ad in front of your audience and kind of show you how you can actually do that. So my goal at the end of those 3 hours is to have 5 business owners that have a revised offer that they feel a lot of confidence in, that I know their audience will really resonate with, and then they'll actually have a plan to actually promote that to their audience. So again, if we have the time to kind of write up specific ads for your business, I'm more than willing to do that. As a copywriter, I do it every day where I'm kind of writing up offers and promotions for business owners. So if we have the time to actually write the stuff for you and all you have to do is kind of put that in place, then that's ultimately the goal. But again, I'm limiting it to 5 business owners so I can really dig deep in terms of your business, make sure that there's a key impact so you walk away and kind of actually put this in place and get customers within the next few days or weeks. So for that, again, go to the address there is mindsetcopy.com/pivot. And that'll offer you the opportunity to sign up for that. Again, it's limited to 5 business owners. So when those 5 slots are filled, I'm going to cut off. The order page is actually set up to kind of cut it off there. So I'm not sure how long these spots are going to be open for. You guys are getting on this webinar, you're getting the first opportunity at looking at that. So you do have first crack at that. But I will be promoting it to my list and other audiences over the next few days. So I am expecting those 5 spots to go pretty quickly. So the overall cost of the workshop is going to be $595 over a 3-hour period. And I am going to put a risk-free guarantee attached to it as well. So, if you go through this workshop, you get an offer and you go out there and you promote it and you don't get a return on it, you don't get a new customer as a result of this workshop, I'm more than willing, if you send me an email and show me proof that you actually put the offer out there that we talked about, you put it through the promotion plan that we detailed, and it doesn't get you results, I'm more than willing to kind of refund that $595 as part of that. So I want to make it as easy as possible. I want this to be a no-brainer for you within your business. I know it's an uncertain time for a lot of business owners where they're trying to find growth, really connect with their audience. And I really want to dig deep with people, these 5 business owners for this workshop, get them the offers that really resonate with their audience, that specific audience that they're dealing with, and getting that promotion in place. So I want to just absolutely, make an impact here. So that's kind of how I'm setting it up. To do that, again, everything's online in terms of Zoom. If you have any questions on that, feel free to send me an email. Happy to answer any questions that you might have here. But I also just wanted to open it up to questions that you might have in the broader email on email as well. So if you have any questions on your email list or how best to approach what's out there, I was also just going to go through some FAQs maybe while you guys kind of toggle some other questions, but yeah, so if you guys have any questions, let me know. The only other thing is I was going to cover is deliverability. So how can you make sure that your emails are not going into promotions or spam? Those are all important points. So if you're sending out emails on a regular basis, but it's going in the spam folder and your email list doesn't see it, the way to kind of think about promotions and spam, it kind of covers 2 different points. So number 1 is kind of your email reputation. So the way to think about that is you want open rates to your list of at least 10%. So if 10% of your list is not opening up, at least 10% is not opening up your emails, that's kind of the bottom for me to say, okay, we got some concern here. So if you have an email list that less than 10% are opening up your email list, what I would suggest you do is start sending your emails only to those that you know regularly open up your email. So that's going to be a smaller group of people within your list. It might be a few hundred people, it might be a few people, and you're really getting that, start sending emails to them over the next few weeks only. And as you kind of rebuild your email reputation, so you want your email open rates to be above 10%. So that should bring up your email open rates to above 50% pretty quickly. That's going to kind of repair your reputation along the way and get you to the point where, okay, you can start broadening it out to your broader email list a little bit more periodically to those people that might not open up your emails and get to the point where your online reputation is a little bit more. So again, make sure that the emails that you're sending are being opened by people, and it might just take kind of a refresh of your list. So if you go through your list and you kind of see within your email provider that they've never opened up an email from you over the entire history, like think about every few months kind of cleaning up your list and making sure that you kind of remove those people as much as possible. Because if you have people on your list that aren't reading your emails, they're hurting your online reputation, in broader groups as well. So that's the first part of it. Think about your email reputation. Again, 10% is kind of that bottom line. The typical open rate for emails is around 15 to 20%. If you're above 20%, you're in very good shape and doing it that way. Again, use some of those headline suggestions that I started this webinar with that can help your open rates as well. And then the second part is content. Your content in your email, each of the email providers kind of has these filters that they look at. If you have certain words or phrases within your email, that kind of pushes your email potentially to promotions or spam based on what that is. So if you want to take it a step further, what I tend to recommend is set up a free Gmail account where you have one Gmail account where you open up every single email, that you can kind of just send test emails to that account. And the other test account, you don't open up any other emails. So again, what we're trying to do is kind of mirror your email list for those people that open up every email and those people that don't open up any email. And before you send an email to your entire list, what I want you to do is send you a test email to those first 2 test accounts and see within Gmail, and I suggest Gmail just because it's the most stringent in terms of those email filters, and see where it lines up in terms of primary, promotions, or spam. And if it does end up in promotions or spam, it might be the result of your email reputation, but it also might be a word or phrase within your headline or within your email body copy that is really flagging them. So again, just think about, what are the words within your headline that might be flagging those filters. And as you test out more and more, you'll get a better idea of what those words are. but kind of continue to test your emails until they get into that primary folder. So change around the words as you know, what are those controversial words that might potentially be in your headline or email. Start with the headline, then you can kind of test out the email. Again, it does take a little bit more work, but if you can get in the primary tab of your email users more often, that's going to help your open rates as well. So kind of just wanted to go through that. The other thing that I was talking about is you know, the frequency of when you send emails. So again, I talk about once a week. And the thing is, like, you might not have a ton of email ideas right now of what you want to send to your list, but I guarantee you, I've seen it in my own experience, as you write more, as you interact with your audience more, you're going to get a flood of ideas. It kind of is one of those things that, you know, with practice and with regularity, you're going to get a ton of ideas, and you're going to see it within your business as well. And that's going to increase your interaction with your audience as well. So as they have questions and replies and things like that, those are great sources for further emails as well. So I don't see any other further questions. Hope this was helpful. What I'm going to do is kind of follow up with a replay either later today or tomorrow. Again, I'll provide you reminders around the bonuses that I talked about and those links that you have there. So feel free to take advantage of those. I want to give your business as much value and impact, especially in this environment, to do well. And we'll go from there. Just want to check that there's no other questions. But other than that, again, if there's any other questions, pop them in the chat right now. Otherwise, have a great day.